Welcome into this episode of Coach's Corner. Jordan Woodruff with you. Great to have you along. Today's episode brought to you by P66 and Skyway Chrysler Dodge Jeep and Ram in Ponca City. We're joined by head football coach Justin Roland. And Coach, good to have you along as we are in the kind of twilight of the season. We're narrowing it down with only a couple of more district games to go.
Yeah, it's went fast, and we got two more for sure. Hopefully three.
Yeah, that's you should get that three, you think. The two schools you have coming up should be teams you should be able to beat. You can't take anything for granted. But talk about just the challenges that you've faced this year and how those kids are responding to them.
It's funny, because the attitude in the locker room has been pretty dang good. Obviously, nobody likes to get beat, but I think each week different people are starting to get better, starting to show promise. And we knew that we had the tough end of the district early and probably would have a lot of really good chances late. But the attitude's good, and we continue to work.
How did they draw up the district like they did it? I mean, they couldn't have scheduled this district any better, right? With the top four teams were 0-4 or 4-0, the bottom four were 0-4,
yeah.
And then they're all playing each other to kind of figure out the seeding. I mean, I don't know if that's how they meant to draw it up, but man, I've never seen a district kind of go as planned like this one has.
Yeah, it shook up pretty good, but the other district is complete opposite. There's kind of chaos everywhere, but I think for sure Muskogee and Sand Springs are the class of the district. And then I think after that, you could probably throw your name in the hat.
Well, and that's the thing is, like, you guys didn't win the games, and that's important.
Right.
But at the same time, you don't feel like you're so far out of those. If you don't make a couple of plays here or there, you can win them.
No, yeah, for sure. I mean, you look at PC North, they've not struggled, but they figured out games that they could win. And I guarantee you, in their last 3 to 4 games, they probably feel like, man, we could have easily lost those, but found a way to win. So, I think between PC North, ourselves, not Sand Springs, but Beeville and Sapulpa, you feel pretty close.
Yeah, and like you said, that other district's kind of out in the air. Looks like Stillwater, Choctaw, going to be the top two based on what happened last week. But they're 3 through 5, which that makes a big difference of who you guys ultimately will get in the playoffs, because you're going to – the highest you can be is just get in as a 6 seed. You'll have the 3 seed to start.
Right.
That's still a lot up in the air in the next 2 weeks.
Yeah, no doubt. And I think Piedmont would go ahead and run away with that. Then they drop one to Southmore. PCO has been really competitive and really tough at times, and then maybe not look so good. I think it was 7-7 with them at Stillwater last Friday. So you just never know. I mean, but getting in the dance is the biggest thing.
Yeah, it is. And that said, you got a couple of weeks, and historically the teams you're going to be facing, the bottom of the district starts with Capitol Hill. I think they got a coach. He's got their numbers up. I mean, we played one year, and I think there was like 20 kids, and they're up to about 70 kids now, which is good and shows you that he's got that going in the right direction. But the inner city schools have always struggled talent-wise, as we know. I mean, you can't hide that from your guys. They understand that as well. They see the tape. So what do you try to get out of these next 2 weeks? I mean, first thing, you got to win. You got to tell them not to overlook. Right. Always the case.
Right.
But at the same time, what are you really trying to get out of these next 2 weeks besides just qualifying for playoffs?
Well, it's probably easier for us with us putting, doing some different things offensively, and I think finding some stuff defensively as well. So it's not too hard for us to just, every rep that we take, we want to be at top speed, top gear, top technique, and that hasn't changed. And like I said, with the change kind of in the offense, it's made that side of the ball a lot easier, where you kind of tend to struggle and get lax. Special teams, areas, punting, kickoff, return, kickoff, but keeping those kids hooked up is the biggest way
We've talked about the change, in our pregame show stuff, the radio side, but on this side of things with Coach's Corner, talk about the idea behind changing the offense like you did, and after now a couple of times having seeing that, where you thought things have gotten better and how you think they'll continue to improve.
I'll tell you where we've been good for a part of the year is rush and the football. I think when you hear about somebody throwing the ball, you think, man, they're not going to run it. We ran it really well Friday night. We just ran it well in different ways. but just trying to get the ball to our playmakers as much as possible, putting stress on the defense. I think it's very easy when you can just load up and there's no motions, no anything. You're just pinning your ears back and going, and where you can slow people down, help out the front. Both our quarterbacks, Johnson and Cortez, they both throw the football, so let's use it. I think we're got good talent outside. Let's use it. So it's just getting the ball to those guys, and then like I said, we continue to run the ball well, and we'll continue that. It'll just look a little different.
And that's saying you threw the ball maybe more against Bartlesville than you have all season against a team, and I know that was a closer game, maybe called for it, but at the same time, that's one thing. They can load up and stop the run, and you want to kind of focus on the run game, but you got to keep them honest with the passing game, and it felt like you did do quite a bit more of that. And sometimes it's a misnomer with the passing game. You're like, you can pass and it almost is like a run play, a jet sweep pass, but it's a run play.
Right.
You can do a little quick pass to the guy there on the wing or in a slot, and all of a sudden it kind of turns into a run play. So it's kind of misnomer sometimes. You're kind of running the football by throwing the football too.
Right. No, yeah, and the quicks, and we call them quicks and tunnels, and they're pivotal. You turn on TV Saturday and Sunday, if teams can't do that, they can't run or throw the ball because they're just going to load it up on them. But I think also just trying to be dangerous, not being afraid to take a shot down the field. I mean, to be honest, we hit one in the face mask first half, and I think our first quarter, second quarter, we hit a kid right on top of the head, where if you catch those balls, number one, your pass stats going to look good, but you're probably going to score on those drives. And just giving those kids more of those opportunities, it always is easier in close games. You know what I mean? You're really looking to score, looking to push the ball down the field. But for me, just being dangerous, not just letting them sit back on us.
All right, defensive side of the ball. You did have a little switch there too, because you got a lot of those guys that kind of focus more offensively. You put them back on the defensive side, and you kind of run a multiple scheme where you had a different group on a 4-front versus a 3-front. So it's interesting. Those kids have gone from we're playing both ways to we're playing one way. Now they're playing both ways again. But you felt like that's a necessity because the defense has struggled since some of those kids have gone one way.
Absolutely. I'll tell you in our claw, what we call our 3-3 stack, we call it claw. Blaze McGahey was at nose, and I think there was an obvious change in the job that he was able to do. Dayton Sini, I think, is at the left end. Dayton's a kid that's just a hard worker, and just one of those kids that you look on the sideline, you're like, man, he's got to get in the game. Of course, we've been playing younger guys at the linebacker position, but Jackson Goddard may have played the best game he's ever played. Secondary in that group remains the same, but then we'll rotate to our 40, where we bring in more kids. Avon Hobbs was a kid that hadn't played much. Probably after week 2 or 3, stayed at running back. He's back. He's a difference maker. I think had a batted pass last week. In the secondary, it's almost all different, where you have A.J. Landis at a corner, who has played corner some, and Cortez at corner, who has also played corner. But the two changes, the one big change is Ryder Trepton at free and Donovan Harjo at bandit. And the thinking behind that was, when they put the ball up in the air, we want to rush 4 and drop the rest. And if they put it up in the air, those two kids are really good ball hogs.
Yeah. All right. Next 2 weeks, like we said, very winnable games for you guys. Get yourself into the playoffs, and you're hoping, not just 3 weeks, maybe 4 weeks. You'll see how it matches up, but this is a key 2 weeks, not just to get in the playoffs, but also get better to give yourself a chance maybe to win a playoff game.
Absolutely, and that was kind of the thinking with the offense thing was we have, 3, hopefully 4 weeks to jumpstart us into going into off season or whatever it is, spring. It seems like it never stops, and that's for sure the thing. It's never going to be an issue of us working hard, but it's going to be us building towards something. And the next 2 weeks, starting with tomorrow night's a big part of that.
All right, well, best of luck, and we'll see if we can't get these W's and get us into the playoffs, see if we can't go do a little magic there as well, Coach. Appreciate your time.
Yes, sir. Thank you for
Coach Justin Roland, and that's going to do it for today's Coach's Corner. And it's been brought to you by P66, Skyway, Chrysler, Dodge, Jeep, and Ram here in Ponca City. Thanks to Chris behind the cameras. As always, Jordan Woodruff saying so long, and until next time, Go Cats.